The National Association of Realtors conducted a flash survey of members on the impact of coronavirus on their market. Today on Talking Real, we discuss 9 of the metrics that they measured so you can see exactly what's happening out in the industry and the impact of coronavirus on the real estate industry.
So let's dive into the numbers and check the pulse of real estate.
Welcome back to Talking Real, brought to you by the Oklahoma Association of Realtors. You are tuned into episode 121 in the Talking Real studio with myself, Jeff, and my wonderful, friendly co-host, Nabil. Nabil, how are you today?
I'm doing well.
Are you feeling like grinding up some trees? That's really random, but
it's not.
There's a machine outside of our window here that is literally knocking down trees and grinding them up. I don't know how to explain it. It's a giant, violent wheel of destruction that's tearing up trees outside, and we were watching it for longer than we probably should have.
I like to call it the tree eater.
It's a tree eater. That's exactly what it is. So that's what we've been doing and pondering some interesting subject matter for our Talking Real listeners today.
That's right.
We have received in our inboxes here a survey. Well, the results of a survey is a flash survey that NAR did called the Economic Pulse.
Yes. And they did this just a week ago.
Yes.
Actually, not even a week ago.
Yeah. It's just within the last week.
Yeah.
So this comes out of May 16th through the 18th, and they've surveyed, they got a little over 3,200 responses on this survey that they sent out of realtor members, the vast majority of whom are doing business in residential real estate. And so they have these 9 different metrics that they've tested. And we thought this was valuable information to share to see kind of what has been going on. I mean, what we're really looking at here is this is all coming out of COVID-related issues that we're seeing in real estate to see, what is the actual impact of what's happening? What are realtors out there seeing in day-to-day business? And we're going to go through these 9 metrics so you can kind of see this is what's actually happening out there across the nation with respect to real estate, so you can have a better idea of where we are and maybe help forecast where things may be going based on this.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought all of this was interesting. I mean, you can hypothesize about things, but when you see the results of people actually in the field coming back to you and saying this is actually what's happening, it either reinforces it or opens your eyes to something that you didn't know.
Yeah, for sure. We'll put a link to this in the show notes so you can go grab a copy of it as well. It's relatively brief and, again, quite informative. So we're not necessarily going to cover absolutely every little piece of information, but definitely going to hit some highlights here on these metrics that they've looked at to give you the vital signs of what's going on out there.
Yes. So I think the first thing on everyone's mind is social distancing.
Right.
And how that affects the transactions.
Absolutely.
So the question they asked was, how would you assess social distancing guidance in real estate transactions, especially with more use of virtual tours, electronic signatures, and exterior-only home appraisals? So, you can't go in anymore, et cetera, can't be in person. But surprisingly enough, 45% said some aspects still require person-to-person interaction, and through masks and gloves, it just lessens the risk of spreading the virus.
Right.
So, precautions are being taken, but a lot of the business that has to be done has to be face-to-face.
Right. Yeah, it was kind of interesting how there's a little bit of a divide in the responses here, though, because you had the 45% saying that at least some aspects still require the person-to-person interactions. But we had 34% that said nearly all aspect of the transaction can be done while respecting social distancing.
Interesting.
And, this may be regional to some degree, because I know the guidance in different places, different states maybe have been a little bit different. But, you've got a lot of people that are still saying that even despite social distancing, some of the requirements that were in place, really everything could continue in terms of getting real estate transactions done. And we've got some more interesting information as we get further into that too. But yeah, kind of interesting. There were some people though. I mean, 11% were saying that government mandate of stay at home was leading to near impossibility of getting deals done. I know there were some states where real estate was not declared an essential service like it was in Oklahoma. So I would guess that some of those are coming from the states that were either really late to that or maybe didn't, or still had even stricter guidelines than we're used to. So the next question they asked was, in general, how has the coronavirus changed clients' attitudes with regards to buying a home? So specifically looking at buyer behavior. And this I thought was quite interesting. We had only 23% say that there was no change, that they were continuing to meet with clients and show properties in person. But we've had 34% say delaying the process of a couple of months was occurring, 19% saying they completely stopped looking due to concerns about job loss or a reduction in income. And then there were some other things, like 6% said they decided just not to buy indefinitely, that have just completely called off their home search. So that's a substantial number. I mean, we're talking in excess of, 50% in that neighborhood saying that it's either delaying or they've stopped looking because of a job situation, or they've just stopped looking because of the coronavirus. So that's a substantial reduction in the buyer behavior that we're seeing.
Yeah, and only 10% of the people were comfortable pivoting to relying solely on virtual communications and virtual tours.
Right.
And, that could be both ways, right? Either the buyer's not comfortable doing that or the realtor is not comfortable doing that.
Right.
So, and I think the more this progresses, I feel like we're going to see a larger increase in that number.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that, this comes from just about a week ago, but as this continues on, it'll be interesting to see how that changes, to see, do people become more and more comfortable with the idea of virtual showings and those kinds of things. But it seems like, at least here in Oklahoma, from what I've heard, there's still quite a few people that are out there doing in-person showings, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we've seen quite as much, but you do hear plenty of stories of people that are buying a house without actually going into it or putting a contract on it, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. So the next question still has to do with buyers, and it's more about the interest of the home buyer in the market for the past week. 18% of people said that they experienced an increase in activity.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
While 24%, this is the complete opposite side of the spectrum, 24% said that they noticed a decline by more than 50%. So basically, half of the interest that they were seeing is gone.
Absolutely. So, yeah, you see when you kind of look at these numbers that it's a pretty substantial number. I mean, it's 50% or more that are saying that there's at least a 10% or more, up to potentially 100% decline in the buyer's interest in even looking at properties.
Right.
Fascinating to see that they've actually had some people show an increase in interest, which may be, I think this was geared towards the early weeks of the economic lockdown. And so what were people seeing there? Well, some people maybe got in a hurry to buy a house, so they picked it up and said, well, we better do it now because things are going to be shutting down. And
That's true.
If we wait a month, we may not be able to get it done. But if we do it now, maybe we can hurry before things completely get totally locked down. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, I see a substantial number of people that have a declining of more than 50% of the buyers that are interested in looking for a property. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought this next one is dealing with buyers' expectations of home prices. And the question is, in general, are home buyers expecting lower prices now after being in this lockdown?
I mean, everything's
else?
on sale, right?
That's yeah, you would think so. Now, 45% said that they were not expecting any lower prices, but that means 55% were. So you had, let's see, what is this? You have 15% that are saying they expected lower prices by 11% on up to over 15% reduction in prices.
That's a significant discount.
I think that's a little aggressive to think that there would be 15% reductions in prices on home values. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anyone here has seen that. It seems like probably things are fairly stable. But
right. I mean, you'd expect to see some people reducing the price just to attract that buyer if they need to get their property sold. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't have to be an across the board we have to give a discount to be able to get a home sold.
Right. And we'll see. So forecasting a little bit here, one of the other metrics was sort of the same question, flipped to the seller side for the people that are selling of, did they lower the price of their house to attract buyers? And so kind of keep a little pin in this, that you've got at least 10% of the buyers are saying they expected more than 15% decline in home prices.
Yeah.
But 45% saying not expecting any lower prices. And then we'll kind of check in with that when we see what the sellers are doing in terms of actually lowering their home price.
Yeah. So talking about sellers, the first question about sellers was dealing with clients' attitudes with regards to selling a home and how that has changed due to COVID-19.
Right.
And just like the buyers, most of them, and only 20%, no change, continuing to meet with clients and showing properties in person. But the vast majority otherwise are either delaying the process or even 7% saying they're deciding not to buy or sell indefinitely.
Right. Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, we've got at least 38% that are saying that they're delaying the process a couple of months, which, I mean, this is as of May, right? So what does that mean? Is that, that could go on and on, right, depending on how this changes.
And the summer is usually, when people are making this change.
Right. You get a lot. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure. And you still got some that are continuing the process but relying on virtual communications, but relatively small. We're talking 13% there. And so you've got 38% or 7% that are either delaying or just deciding indefinitely not to sell right now because of the concerns, which is substantial. I think that mirrors out. I mean, some of the statistics I've seen in terms of new listings on the MLS, houses are continuing to go under contract. They're continuing to be sold, but there aren't new houses coming on the market like what you would ordinarily see. So we're going to have that big supply issue. Mm-hmm. And this kind of holds true that you've got at least some large percentage of people that are delaying. So, perhaps if we remain off lockdown, if we don't have to, go back into some sort of, extreme measures later on in the fall, like some are predicting, then maybe we'll just see a later in the year increase in the number of properties that come on the market, or maybe they'll just wait till next year, right? We don't know, but there's definitely a delay going on right now of new properties coming on the market.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one is, we're going back to this one on the sellers reducing their listing price. And the question is, have any of your home sellers reduced the price to attract buyers? And, it's funny because, again, we saw 45% of the buyers said they did not expect a reduction in the price, and 68% of the sellers have not lowered the price. They're holding steady.
Yeah.
But that there are some that have. I mean, we've got 19% has said that they have decreased the price by less than 5%, and then it kind of goes on up from there. So you've got 9% saying between 5 and 10%, and it kind of trails off from there. Just a couple of percent that have lowered their prices more. So a couple of people out there that may be pretty big in a hurry to get it sold and mm-hmm. put it on a substantial sale, but the vast majority there not lowering the price or just lowering it a relatively small amount to try to attract those buyers. So that 10% or 15% that want a 10% plus reduction in the home prices are going to be sorely disappointed that the sellers are not in agreement with lowering the price of their homes that much. And, as we saw just before, a big portion of them are okay with delaying the sale of their home for a little while before getting back into the market. So.
Yeah. I mean, which buyer wouldn't want a discount on purchasing a new home?
For sure. Absolutely.
So I guess one can hope.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see. I mean, there's a lot of people that have lost their jobs, those kinds of things, that are in kind of they open up a lot of mortgage forbearance options mm-hmm. for people. And hopefully that won't create a situation of, people losing their homes to foreclosure.
Yeah.
We did see recently in Oklahoma that as they started to open up court systems again, that there were hundreds of eviction proceedings, some pending that went on hold before COVID really hit, but then some that maybe have been piling up. So I think we're going to see a large number of eviction cases continuing on. Hopefully a lot of those people, the tenants and the landlords, are able to work it out. But, the hope there is that we don't see a similar big spike in the foreclosure proceedings. I haven't seen anything that indicates that there are ones being filed or anything. And again, it just kind of depends on how that forbearance works out, and hopefully we won't find a situation there.
Yeah. And talking about rent and tenants and homeowners working out, payments based on COVID issues, they actually did. There was a question on that too.
Yes.
So they asked property managers and individual landlords if they had seen any tenants who were unable to pay their rent because of coronavirus.
Right.
And most of them, 38% of property managers and 60% of individual landlords said no issues, rent was being paid on time.
Right.
But 42% of property managers and 25% of individual landlords said there was a delay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But they were working it out. They were accommodating. Fantastic. We'll work through it.
Yep.
But then obviously there was a slightly lower percentage that did not pay on time and their lease had to be terminated.
Right. Right.
So,
yep, that's a difficult part there when you've got 7% of property managers, 4% of individual landlords that are actively terminating their leases, and a higher percentage there that are being asked to delay the payment of rent and are maybe haven't quite decided to move forward with terminating the lease, but could very soon. So,
right.
That's certainly something to be concerned with there. That is a big number. I mean, when you consider if you have 7%, 4% of individuals, so somewhere in that 5% neighborhood of people's leases being terminated directly due to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
That's certainly a
that's
large
millions
number.
And millions of people.
I don't know what that translates to.
Yeah.
It's a lot. So we'll definitely be seeing some of that. The next question we're looking at here is in regards to coronavirus, have you seen any of the following changes in home seller listing behavior? And 76% say that buyers are taking precautions upon entering the house. Hand sanitizer, washing hands, gloves, shoes, shoe covers, masks, those kinds of things. And 60% saying they've completely stopped open houses, which I think we've seen that. I'm actually surprised that number's not higher, that 33% are still doing open houses. That actually surprised me that wasn't overwhelmingly the highest thing we've seen there. But also talk about home inspectors and appraisers. We see a big number that are taking precautions, but 50%, 40% of appraisers and home inspectors where they don't even list that they're taking any kind of particular precautions when entering the house. But still kind of interesting. We see a large number of those that are, and again, stopping those open houses, which I thought would be like 90%, not 66, but
really?
I don't know.
I don't know. I kind of expected that number to be a little lower, honestly. Just because open houses are such an integral part of the home buying and selling process.
Right.
I figured people would be like, that would be like the last thing people would want to give up.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, obviously you're taking precautions, doing everything you can, but the more encouraging number is almost a third, 35% and 26% respectively, are relying on virtual tours in virtual showings.
Right.
And now there's a distinction between virtual tours and virtual showings. Virtual tours are, I would imagine, because they haven't given a description, are ones that are built into the computer so you can click around and go through it.
Right.
And virtual showings might be the realtor or someone walking around with a camera explaining the property as they go. That's how I take it. Not 100% sure exactly what it is.
Yeah, for sure. The more open to everybody versus kind of a one-on-one showing kind of deal, for sure. And 25% have said that in-person showings are just not allowed. They completely cut it off.
They can't do anything about that.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting. That's actually a pretty large number. So
the final question of this survey, it was a quick survey.
Yeah.
Quick and informative. Was dealing with residential closing delays. So delays caused due to the coronavirus. And 43% said they were experiencing no delays in the closing process.
Right.
Which is great.
Yeah. We want to see as much of that as possible, no delays. But that tells you though that there is some delays. 57% are for sure.
Right.
For sure.
And most of them are dealing with financing or job loss of buyer.
Right. Yeah, I think that was probably the biggest discouraging thing of all this, is seeing that 28% were seeing delays because the buyer wasn't qualifying due to a job loss. That's a lot. That's a pretty substantial number in my mind. And certainly hate to see that. And of course, the financing, we don't know all the details, but something related to financing that played in there. There were some others sprinkled in with appraisals and home inspections. I know getting people scheduled to come out to do appraisals and home inspections were difficult for some people. Also delaying with final walkthroughs, those kinds of things were other factors, but relatively small. So primarily what we're seeing is the financing or qualification issue, as opposed to the rest that weren't really seeing any delays at all.
Yeah. 6% did say, though, in-person signatures delayed their closing.
Right. And interestingly, we talked about the remote online notary here, but there have been some delays in getting that fully off the ground running for closing purposes. And from my understanding, a lot of that has to do with, one, getting the title companies set up to be online notaries. So there is certain requirements you have to go through to make sure that you've got the proper system available to conduct those correctly. That's not just, let me just jump on Zoom or jump on FaceTime and do a notarization. That's not how it works. You got to have an actual secure system and everything else to deal with this. But also getting the lenders on board so that the lenders will accept online notarization and electronic signatures, not just, where some things you have to go in and sign in person. And I think we're getting there. I think this may be a huge catalyst to be able to push things over into accepting electronic signatures across the board and increasing online notarizations. I certainly hope to see that. I know we worked real hard to get that legislation passed. And of course, we're taking advantage of electronic signatures in any number of things. And, I've not really heard any issues that people have with electronic signatures. So it's time to get with 2020 and let's make that happen. So hopefully we'll see some positive things coming out of this as well. So yeah, we just wanted to share this survey with you. We thought it had some really interesting data so you could see what people are actually seeing. So less anecdotal information of what maybe your office is seeing or what you heard from somebody else, and get you a little more specific information of what is actually going on there.
Right.
If you want to see this entire survey, go ahead and check out the show notes. We'll put a link to it there, or head on over to nar.realtor and look for their NAR Flash Survey Economic Pulse in 2020 here. You can find that was done on May 16th through the 18th. So check that out and get up to speed on everything that's going on out there.
That's right.
Well, Nabil, what else we got going on?
Well, next week, June 1st, starts application month.
Oh.
So our favorite time of the year.
We love application month.
We love application month. All sorts of applications, committee applications, applications for awards, Realtor of the Year, Life Member, you name it, there's an application. So look out for June 1st. We'll be releasing all those applications, and nominate yourself, nominate someone that you think is deserving, and let's get those applications in.
Absolutely. Again, like I said, a lot of awards. Also, all of our committees are going to be open up for people to, again, it says nominate or whatever, but that doesn't mean you can't nominate yourself.
It's just suggesting, right? It's a sign up.
Yep, it's a sign up. So get in there and express your interest in participating in some of the committees here at the Oklahoma Association of Realtors. We got all different kinds depending on what your interests are, and we would love to get you plugged in here at the State Association so that you can help kind of guide the mission and the direction of where we're going and be a part of governing the State Association. So check that out for sure. Otherwise, we do appreciate everybody coming week after week to take advantage of what we're trying to offer here at the State Association through Talking Real, and hope you keep coming back week after week and share this with a friend who is out there in the real estate industry as well, so that they can understand and hear what's going on here at Talking Real.
That's right. And if you had an interesting experience during this coronavirus related situation, send us an email. Tell us about it at podcast@okrealtors.com.
Absolutely. We love to hear from everybody and see what kind of interesting things you're having to deal with that may be a little bit unique and how you've handled those situations. So let us know. And until next time, we'll see you next Tuesday on Talking Real. You don't sound official until you've got your headphones on. Is this a thumb drive?
Huh? Yeah. Super old.
Cool. Nifty. I don't want it if it ain't USB-C.
I know. swag giveaway. USB-C drives.
Yeah.
Actually, one, like the one I have, USB-C and regular USB.
Yeah.
That's useful.
That's gangster.
Yeah.
Who uses flash drives anymore?
Who does? I do.
Yeah, but you're a creator. Creators use things that the rest of the world doesn't. We just save things to like Dropbox and G Drive and superior. Well, okay.
All
Let's
right.
record a podcast.
Let's do it. I thought this was it.
Oh, you could save that and just tack it on at the end. Of like
Random chitter chatter at the end.
Why
Actually,
not?
that's a funny way to end an episode.